even though it is a PhD or even of a higher level, the number of hypotheses is reduced only to 3 or 4. It is based on the variable, based on the subgroups, that's all. If you have 2 independent variable and 1 dependent variable and sample subgroups, you have only 3 hypotheses. 3 hypotheses. One hypothesis is for sample and independent variable, and the other hypothesis is for variable and dependent variable, independent variable and dependent variable, that's all. So when you write a hypothesis in a scientific way, the number of hypotheses will get reduced, and also it will be very precise, very precise. But one thing is that we don't enumerate the hypothesis as H1, H2, H3, H10. But for H1, there will be another H1.1, 1.2, 1.3 like that. You form a group sometimes, maybe a WhatsApp group through professor. I will try to share a lot of materials with regard to research, and that will be definitely helpful to you. Especially I want to share with you the Marshall table and certain elements of statistics, how you should go in for SPSS and all that. And when time permits, definitely I will do that. So somebody have asked me how to standardize a tool. I will take 5 minutes to explain that. So standardization of a tool is just like another process. Standardization does not happen within a limited span of time. Even when you are taking your PhD for when you are doing your PhD for 4 or 5 years, standardization will not happen. Validation only will happen. The normal procedure is this. Firstly, you plan. The primary thing what you need to do is, whenever you are constructing a tool, go for a lot of theories. So if you are trying to go for doing a research in differentiated instruction, the primary thing what is expected of you as a researcher is to read lot of theories. So reading theories in the sense, it is not simply reading. You take lot of printouts, you collect books, because for preparation of UPSC they say material collection and management is for 6 months they will do. When you join our government UPSC center, which is conducted by Tamil Nadu government, Anna Institute of Management, they will say, they will ask each and every candidate to collect materials, material collection or source collection and management. It will take 6 months of time. So like that, every research scholar has to work for source material collection. Every day you should bring files, because these are the things that you should have. Bring files every day, like having tea or coffee. It should be a regular practice to take printouts. Minimum of 2 research papers. Glossaries you have to take printouts repeatedly. APA glossary, some statistical glossary, some research methodology glossary. Because glossaries will give you simple ideas, simple definitions in the perspective of the author who had written it. I still remember a lot of definitions which I read from glossary. Okay, some glossary, one glossary in psychology by Clyde M. Naramore, who is a very famous psychologist, has given a wonderful glossary. Any definition he will give it in 1 line. Okay, so that will be very. He defines attitude as is inborn potential ability. Aptitude as inborn potential ability. Attitude is potential ability to respond. So attention is interest in action. Motivation is latent attention. So like this, glossaries help you to understand the subject in a different way, in a very easier way. So like this, material collection is one important aspect. So from material collection, you go for reading of lot of theories. Lot of theories with regard to this particular area. Make notes of lot of theories. Then with that knowledge, try to identify the sample, keeping the sample in mind, try to write n number of items. And before writing n number of items, see that you create certain dimensions virtually. If you are trying to write certain 100 items in differentiated instruction, try to go for learning certain theory on differentiated instruction, take keywords. Based on the keywords, you try to write lot of items. Say if you want to have 50 items at the final stage, see that you write a minimum of 100 items. So then you go for reviewing the items. You review our items. Repeatedly you read through the items. Technicality of the item and construction of a research tool takes a long presentation. Okay, item simply written, item technically written, item with assertion and reason, a complete item, what are the minimum number of terms that you need to have in an item, everything matters. The item for academic research should be technical. Many instances for question paper setting or for competitive examination question paper, they give different instructions. It should be clear, it should not be ambiguous. So there are many preconceived notions about developing a tool. But in the present day context, our items ought to be highly technical. Even if it is a bit ambiguous, state it in a very clear way. And no item is complete without mentioning the context. You cannot simply write an item, keeping the variable that you have selected in mind. See that every item has its own context. So for anxiety, there will be one statement. I always sweat. My palms sweat often. So this is a non-contextual item. So how you should relate it to the context when I appear for an examination or when I stand in front of my seniors, I feel my palm is sweating. So this is the complete statement. There is an assertion, there is a reason, or there is a context where there is an explanation of that context. So item writing is an art. So that is why we don't call it as a question. Instead we call it as an item. So develop as many items as you could, review the items by yourself, and go for an expert opinion. Because I have certain serious expert opinion reviews with me. Some professors are very serious to collect expert opinion from the experts. But nowadays it is happening for namesake. In some of the theses I know that even the expert opinions are enclosed in the appendix part. The appendices you are keeping, no? In the appendix part they will enclose the expert opinion. I have some expert opinions with me wherein I have very drastically commented on this tool has to be rewritten. Not a single item is meeting the technical aspect of construction. So every item is plain. It will go for obvious responses. Ultimately the significance will not be achieved. So likewise I would have written. So go for a good expert opinion, and based on the expert opinion you get back correct. So the prior version of the tool you are having now, go for a pre-tryout. After pre-tryout, come back. Pre-tryout in the sense it is not actually a pilot study. Simply your pre-tryout is not pilot study. Pre-tryout is just putting your tool in the field and get back the responses. After you are getting back the responses, sit with the tools. And the tool is the one part which you have to carry till you write the findings and summary. But nowadays it is often forgotten. Once if all the statistical data is transferred to SPSS or Excel, the tool is thrown out. Ultimately you could not write the interpretation even for tables without the tool, because the tool is the ultimatum based on which we are trying to interpret, because the tool is everything. You have asked so many items, asked so many contextual items, and you have to sit and see how rural students have responded to it, how urban students have responded to it, how women teachers have responded, men teachers have responded, how a government teacher is responded. So everything is with your tool. So you have to keep the copy of the tools till you write the interpretation for the 4th chapter and till the completion of your 5th chapter summary and findings. Okay, so this is the significance of the tool. So go for pre-tryout, get back, do a primary statistics. Okay, primary statistics, just by analyzing it with the basic frequencies. So then you correct the tool again, go for pilot study, come back, finalize the tool. In the sense, the tool should have a minimum number of items with defined dimensions. So if it is not, if again you are going to, because if you are self-constructing a tool, there are two things that you have to do compulsorily in a PhD thesis to establish the reliability and validity, basic reliability and validity of the tool. Actually, that will be done by factor analysis. So in factor analysis, again we have two areas. One area is called as confirmatory factor analysis, the other area is called as exploratory factor analysis. You already decided certain dimensions based on a theory. For that you will do confirmatory factor analysis. Actually, you have simply written 100 statements, out of which you have finalized 70 items, you have given and collected it. Then you go for identifying the item based on identifying the dimensions or the subvariables based on the factors. You do exploratory factor analysis. And the exploratory factor analysis, the factor loadings will come. Actually, this session is just like a brainstorming session. I don't know how closely you will follow me. Basic prerequisite knowledge is definitely essential for you. At least take down the terminologies based on which you may find in future what is what. Okay. So in exploratory factor analysis, what we do, we collect the data with the tools and we get back. We don't have any dimensions. We have collected from the respondents. Ultimately, we do statistics called factor analysis, exploratory factor analysis, in which there are 5 elements. First element is principal component analysis. It's all very technical, but statistically speaking, it is very easy because everything SPSS will do, and these 5 outputs will be there with you. It will be given to you. One is principal component analysis, then component rotation matrix, then factor loading, factor naming, from factor finalization. So till naming of the factor, you will have to do certain work. So after which you can confirm that based on the factor loading, you simply type factor loading in Google, go to images, click, and you will see certain factor loadings. So you can name the factors according to the loadings. For major loadings, it is one dimension. For minimal loadings, again second dimension. Very minimal loadings, you will leave it as standard error. Okay. If you want 5 dimensions for your tool of 70 items, or 4 dimensions or 4 subvariables for your tool of 70 items, see that you name 4, leave the rest. Or else you combine certain factors, name it as a global factor. Okay. So this is the process of standardizing a tool. Ultimately, all this process contributes to validation only, because validation alone can be done for a tool within your span of your PhD. Okay. As I already told you, validation is a cross-sectional process and standardization is a longitudinal process. Even though you find reliability and validity, you simply say in your thesis you should not write the tool is standardized. The tool is validated and the reliability and validity of the tool is established with regard to the present sample for the present study being carried out. So this is how you should write. So this is with the tool. And with the test of significance, we have certain important terminologies like morning I told you about hypothesis testing, type 1 error, type 2 error, standard error and all that. And here we have certain terminologies like confidence interval, critical ratio, why 95%, why 0.05, why 0.01, why it should not be 0.001. Okay, being our statistics is limited or put in framework with as I already told you, it is a social statistics. People are involved here. Okay, all our statistics, right from all our marks, all our scores are basically in percentages. Okay, you will ask what is the percentage in your 10th standard, and even you give a test for 50 marks, again you convert it into 100 marks. So in biostatistics we don't go for 1 by 1000 or 1 by 10,000. But in physical sciences, generally they go for more significance levels. In the sense, especially one of my friend from Madras IIT, he has carried out a research in physics. There they will see the probability error, the probability critical ratio for 1 by 1 lakh, 0.00001. But our significance, they produce bolts and nuts. They produce some special bolt-like structure. They will set in the machine. For 1 lakh production, there will be only 1 error. Again, they will adjust it, and again 1 lakh production will go. So that is what we call it as critical ratio or critical region. Okay, for production of Toyota, because now there is a concept called 6 sigma. I hope you are all aware of. In 3 sigma itself, you will achieve 99.999% level of significance. At the level of 3 sigma, our normal curve will show only up to 3 sigma. But the curve will not touch the x-axis. So that characteristic is called as asymptotic characteristic. The curve, the normal curve, will keep going in line with the x-axis, but it will not touch the x-axis anywhere. So that property is called as asymptotic property of a normal curve. So likewise, all the major companies like Toyota, Nokia, they all follow the 6 sigma concept, wherein the number of errors are very less comparatively. Okay, you say 4 lakh Nokia mobile phones are produced, and there are errors with one or two mobile phones. Okay, so that is why this is how they will study the error estimate, and they will try to be perfect with the outcomes. Okay, so there is a concept called error rating, in which 6 sigma is highly used, but we use sigmas to the extent of 3 sigmas. So that is why we limit our statistical framework to 100%. So that is why we take the level of significance with regard to 0.01 and 0.05. Okay, most of us have a confusion in this, why it should not, because whatever table you take, the table values, whether it is a critical ratio, table value for t value, or F or chi-square or Z table, any table you take, there are a lot of significance, 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. So likewise, you have so many significance levels. But we go in to look for a table value only for two levels. One is 0.05 level or 0.01 level. So 0.05 level is 95% level of significance, and 0.01 is 99% level of significance. So this is with the level of significance. So whenever you say p value is probability value, and probability value is certainly different from critical ratio. So critical ratio is based on the interval. So say you get for t value, we can say without even looking at the table, because the table averages show there is a base for why we say if it is less than 1.96, it is not significant. The t value is not significant. 1.96 to 2.58, the t value is significant at 0.05 level. It is 2.58 and above, we say t value is significant at 0.01 level. So less than 1.96, 2.58 and above, 1.96 to 2.58. So these are the ranges for t value. Likewise, you cannot go for presumably saying this will be the ratio for all the other statistics. But for other statistics, you have to definitely go for identifying the degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom for each of the statistics is different. Okay, generally speaking, if I am collecting data from 10 students, I can say the degrees of freedom is n-1, capital N-1. So 1 will be degrees of freedom. I'll let you know what is degrees of freedom. Similarly, for t value, degrees of freedom, it is two groups. You take two groups. So n-2 is the general degrees of freedom. Similarly, correlation, when you compare two set of scores, again the degrees of freedom is n-2. If it is chi-square, the degrees of freedom differs. Okay, row -1 into column -1 will be the degrees of freedom. And similarly for ANOVA, it is 2 degrees of freedom, lower end and upper end. That is the number of groups. If you have 4 groups, that is k-1, 4 minus 1 is 3. And n-k, the total n minus k. So this is how degrees of freedom differ for each and every statistic. You have to make a note in your notebook. Then based on your experience, based on the work experience you put in, you have to refer to the table, the calculated value. And how you write the null hypothesis, based on that only you have to really go in for interpreting the ultimately the significance, level of significance. So there are 4 So your null hypothesis is H0, no? H0. So H0 is always negative. H0 generally we write negatively for statistical purpose. If it is a qualitative research or if it is a casual research carried out, then you can put the H0 as a positive statement. But generally, if you are depending on certain statistics, if you are planning to go for some statistics, writing H0 as in a negative way helps you a lot. So H0 is this. I already told you, when you write hypothesis, generally you begin like this. So there is no significance. This is how you will write. Okay. In positive way, you write it as there is significance level. There is significance. Okay. So here you say your hypothesis is accepted. In the sense, if it is accepted at 0.05 level, you say there is no significance, and you achieved significance here. You achieved significance at 0.05, and once it is significant at 0.05, then you can go in for looking whether it is significant for 0.01. Okay, basically it is significant. Now what you will do, whether it is accepted or rejected. You say no significance, here it is significance, you say it is rejected. Here no significance, here also no significance. You write it as accepted. Here you are writing it positively, there is significance, and here also it is significant. What you will do? Whether you accept or reject? Accept. And there is significance, here you get no significance, it will be. So based on how you write the null hypothesis, the interpretation of this will differ. So this I basically wrote in order to let you know the calculated value and the table value. So when you write the hypothesis in a negative way, So these are the two conditions when you write your hypothesis in a negative way. So when the hypothesis is written in a negative form, the calculated value lesser than table value, okay, not significant. Okay, calculated value greater than table value, it is significant. Then define the level of significance, whether it is 0.05 or 0.01. So this condition is common for all the interpreting all the statistics, all the statistical tables, whether you are going for chi-square or whether you are going for correlation or whether you are going for ANOVA or F table, because tables have to be looked in. Yesterday I showed him a sheet, even for correlation, 200 is given, 300 is given, but your sample size is 270. For 270 also you can work out very pinpointedly, you can say this is the table value. Table value also can be worked out by us. Okay, so these are some certain conditions with regard to how you are interpreting, how you are about to interpret your table value with regard to the hypothesis you are writing. So in general, when you write the hypothesis, when the calculated value is lesser than the table value, it is not significant. So when the calculated value is greater than table value, it is significant based on the levels, whether it is 0.05 or 0.01. Okay, so this is with the with regard to the how to go in for the levels. Similarly, there is a concept called p-value. P-value is probability value. Probability value totally depends on the normal curve. Okay, the region that is taken over or that is left. So these are the two conditions. When you say you are rejecting a hypothesis, there is a null hypothesis, the result shows it is significant and you are rejecting the hypothesis, in that case p-value will be less than 0.0. You have to state whether it is less than or greater than. Their p-value is less than 0.05 or p-value is less than 0.01 for negative. For positive hypothesis, p-value will be greater than 0.05 or 0.01. To learn this, definitely you take more time, in the sense you have to come out with a statistical table, or else you go with certain journals. In our context, Journal of Indian and Applied Psychology is one good journal where almost all APA norms are followed, and certain other journals by NCERT like the Journal of Indian Education, the Journal of Education Technology, Voices of Teachers and Teacher Educators. The articles published in these journals definitely will concentrate upon all these statistical elements. So go in for referring to certain journal articles and keenly follow what is being done with it. And apart from that, you can also refer to some online articles by TNF, Taylor and Francis, BPS, British Psychological Society articles, and Routledge articles. If English is available, there are a number of articles are there, research articles. So in order to practice writing this table interpretation, hypothesis testing, especially in the format of APA 7th edition norms, see that you download a lot of papers, you take a printout, as I told you. Taking printout is part and parcel of our life. It is not once in a while. Every day you have to keep taking printouts. Any important document, had you taken printout of, because last week I was in Kalpakam, AE's Atomic Energy School. I asked, there are around 300 teachers, I asked them, had any one of you taken the NCF 2023 framework? There are a lot of framework. Now there is a Radhakrishnan Commission report by NAC, not the 1948-49, 2023-24 Radhakrishnan Committee. NAC has given a document. There are a lot of documents. There are everyday documents are published by UNICEF and UNESCO. You can find innumerable documents. OECD is keeping on publishing documents. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. There is one organization called Spectrum 30. They are keeping publishing their documents. So document reading is a duty of a good researcher. It's a duty of a good researcher. You have to read documents. So documents will be in the form of books. Okay, many documents, you say, it will be in the form of books. All the NCERT based documents, it will be published like books. We should not, ultimately when they come for NAC visit or some visit, they will ask where the documents are placed, where the books are placed. And generally our librarians, in our context, in the Down College, everything is placed mixedly, sir. So you should place the documents separately. You should know, even when you go to library, you should be able to identify the books separately and the documents separately. Many of the J.C. Agarwal book, in education, especially development of modern Indian education, after committee reports, all these are basically not textbooks but are documents. History of teacher education development in India, that is a document actually, that's not a book. Okay, philosophical and sociological foundation is a book. Education technology is a book. So you should basically know to identify the difference between these. Likewise, in research, somebody have asked me how to go in for looking APA in specific for references. So you have to take an entire printout of APA in which everything is given in index. APA for table interpretation, APA for bibliography, APA for review of literature. Okay. In review of literature, in the first page itself they would have said no initial should be used throughout the review of literature chapter. So that is one rule. Rule 1. Initial should be used only at the bibliography part. Nowhere inside the thesis. No double quote should be used. The first page, what we generally do in education, we quote in general. So no general quotations are expected of you. Even though you are quoting something, it should be quoted in line with the topic you are selecting. Okay, there should not be general quotes. So likewise, there are many formatting norms that they are presenting every year. So these are the conditions with regard to how you are going for interpreting the p-value. So for understanding p-value, you have to work on. P-value is less than. Even though you get significant, p-value will be less than 0.03. And critical ratio values are the ranges that you set. Sometimes when you go for doing item analysis, you fix the range. You fix yes, as I told you, for psychological tools, no direct item analysis is possible. Item total correlation or inter-item reliability or validity only is possible, for which the results will differ. As one candidate gets the same, other candidate will not get the same result. So that way, in that instances, what you need to do is you have to set your own levels. Okay, for defining those levels, you need some references. So that references you can call it as, you can take it from critical ratio references, CR references. Okay, so critical ratio, critical region, level of confidence, all these are totally in line with the normal probability curve, the understanding of it. Okay, so these are the basic norms with this. Kindly run through the please. So test of significance depends on lot of elements, and I have enumerated certain elements here. Primarily understand the structure of study. As I already told you, if there is an independent variable, there should be a dependent variable. Okay. So the defining of the independent, so understanding subgroups of the sample, all these I have told you earlier, but even though I have just enlisted all this here. Knowledge of interpreting null and alternate hypothesis, strength of research tool. Yeah, this is one important area. Strength of the research tool, the respondent psychology, understanding the respondent psychology, administration of the tool together constitutes to the effective data collection. Ultimately, when your tool alone is effective, nothing will be done unless you administrate it properly. Your presence is very much necessary. As I told you, academic research is a serious research. It is not casual. It is not a very casual research. You cannot go for secondary data collection. You have to go for primary data collection as far as possible. Okay, you have to be present because you are developing the tool. Ultimately, you have to understand the respondent psychology. You have to look in for experiences in the field where you are going for data collection. You have to define the standard deviation. You have to define, there will be a large class, but even though you have to collect small samples from one particular area, and then you go to different schools, different good standard deviations. So these are some of the things. And hypothesis testing, I think we spoke about that. And this is what we are doing now, levels of confidence, level of significance, confidence levels, p-value and critical ratio. So when I say 0.05 level, it simply means you have developed a tool, 100 times you are administering the tool to the selected, the purpose, maybe the context of the, to whom the tool has to be administered. So 100 times you give the tool to one particular group, 95 times it proves to get the same result, then you say there exists 95% of significance. That is 5% of significance, 0.05. Okay. So 100 times you administrate the tool, not to different groups, but to the same age group. If it is of 9th standard, different 9th standards you can get in, you find the reliability. And also, we should be, once you construct a tool on your own, and at many instances I see in PhD thesis, they will say that I got more than, the validity itself will be 0.8 and above. It is impossible to achieve 0.8 and above. Even if it is a very serious tool constructed by a standard researcher, it is highly difficult to get 0.8 and above. And if it is 0.8, again I will go and check in the regression whether it is really 0.8, 80 point contribution is there or not. So you have to be very careful when you define your level of validity. So based whatever you get, you should not get less than 0.5 or till you can go till 0.4. If it is 0.5 and above, it is okay. Then for that you can go in for finding the reliability. Okay. A simple formula for two tests. Previously there is a test for 15 items and again you are adding 15 items to it. So there are 30 items to your test finally. You are adopting a tool where there are 15 items or where there are 30 items. Again you are adding another 30 items. To find out the reliability, you have simple formula for combining these two or getting the tool finalized. You have one simple formula called 2R divided by 1 plus R. That is Spearman-Brown prophecy formula, very simple formula. The reliability is ultimately a good way of calculating reliability. Okay, for two tests, two halves of test. The same test you can apply for split off. The same test you can apply for odd even reliability. Okay, so likewise you can apply it in different instances. You will get good reliability, and validity is square root of reliability. So this is what you get. Okay, 2R divided by 1 plus R, small r, and the another thing is V equal to square root of R. So this is how you find reliability and validity simply. And apart from that, as I told you, with the help of SPSS package, the Cronbach's alpha is being run by the software, but that also is a manually worked out one called the K23 formula. K23 formula. Actually, K23 or Cronbach's alpha. That is how we state it.
Sir, Cronbach's alpha tested is meant for non-parametric.
Sir, nowadays it depends, sir. Actually, Cronbach's alpha, for every tool they run, whatever they.
Generally, they are using this. This is meant for non-parametric. This is meant for.
Yes, sir. Even for parametric, they are finding out Cronbach's alpha. Everywhere, in almost 100 theses, if we take all the 100 theses, they will say the method of reliability is Cronbach's alpha. Okay, the application alone is Cronbach's alpha, but the method would be totally different. If it is done in SPSS, it would say it had run based on the Cronbach's alpha. Again, it is based on certain formula called K23. So it is all there in your John W. Best, Garrett. So these books give you a wonderful picture about the formulas also. So population parameter and all your levels of significance is totally dependent on the parameter, the population parameter. You should be very aware that what is your population, the total size. In the sense, as I told you yesterday, it cannot always be 10% of your population. Sample cannot always be 10% of your population in the present day context. So you should keep the sample size in mind, and based on the sample size, you should verify your the significance levels. Okay, for this particular, because in many theses, as I told you earlier, the number of items will be very less, but the significance will be very high. It will definitely not be there. If you ask any mathematics professor, they say, even though the softwares are very precise, it will definitely not give any good significance unless the items, the number of items in the tool is based on a certain number, like 45 or 55 items, then it will give good statistics. When it is 20, 25 items, you cannot get any significance. Okay, definitely you will not get any significance. So this is a written law. So likewise, even with the samples, the number of samples, minimum there should be a set of good samples. If you are not collecting it from a meaningful sample, then definitely again you will not achieve any good mean or good significance. So this is all understood. You can kindly connect whatever I told you previously with regard to the numbers, with regard to how much the sample should be, with the concept that I am talking about. Okay, determination of results. So when you determine your results, to interpret, you have to test your hypothesis, like hypothesis testing. From hypothesis testing, you have to come for your writing of your summary and finding. Simply, without testing of a hypothesis, you cannot directly come. What is there in the table, you simply write hypothesis accepted, rejected. That is not your summary, or that is not your finding. Okay, findings are different, summary is different, and conclusion is different. Please do understand that. So this is
so
what.
Give me one example finding how to like
Sir, in the sense finding is highly technical. Finding is highly technical, and finding should be supported with literature review. So this is what we generally follow. Whenever you say finding, you have to quote the particular table, not one table. If I say morning I drew a table there, so if it is in sample subgroup with regard to independent variable, you say it is significant. You find it is significant. Some of the sample subgroups are significant with regard to one variable. So when you write the finding, you have to say in each and every row, male and female with regard to the first dimension of the variable, male and female with regard to the second dimension of the variable. So you have to state everything. Then you have to, so this is the analytical finding based on the table what you have got. You should say it is differing significantly and the reason for why it differs, that also you should state, and whether any previous research is coherent with your present finding, that also you should write. So this is how you should present your finding. And when you are presenting summary, the finding you are presenting analytically, qualitatively, all that you have. When you present the summary, you should write your experience, observation on why they differ. Why they differ, on why they differ. Male children and female children differ in social adjustment. So you say women children social adjustment is far better, though they are not that exposed to environments like men children in our context. How come their social adjustment is more? Why their mean scores are more? How it has contributed to 0.01 level of significance. So you should try to put all your experiences of data collection, where you went, how the area is, the locality, how the locality is, what the culture of the locality, all that you bring in, you try to put it in words. Ultimately you should conclude, hence girl children social adjustment is far better than boys with regard to these. Okay. Likewise, you should qualitatively write the summary based on your own experiences with regard to the research you are carrying out. So that is why our research go a long way. From day one, you are meditating your title every day. It is like a scam. Okay, it is like a happy scam when you complete your PhD. When you leave your PhD halfway, it will be a life scam. But throughout day and night, we are meditating our topic each day. Even when you take a project, till the project is completed, every day, because 90% of all the pages will contain the variable names in your thesis. Every page will contain the variable name. Most of the pages will contain your subvariable names. So in those cases, you should understand that this is the thing that we need. So with this, you can just run, sir. You can please go to the next slide. Please. Next slide. Just next slide, sir, please.
Next slide.
Okay. So this is one simple formula for how you could go with calculating the difference. In the sense, a higher p-value over 0.05 means variation. So kindly go through these slides. I've left it here. So it's all very technical to explain. Maybe in another 2 or 3 minutes I will go for normal distribution. Before that, you just run through these slides. Let us look whether there is anything significant with this.
Should be after 5 sir.
So the next slide, please. Okay. Okay. So all this I have told you in the morning. What is major hypothesis, minor hypothesis? Major hypothesis deals with the variables. Minor hypothesis deals with the sample subgroup and the independent variable. The next one, sir. So I put in what is type 1 error, type 2 error, and also I have given certain examples in the morning. So next one, sir. Next one. Next one. So sir was previous slides, please. So parametric and non-parametric. In our cases, in general, unless you are not going for any specific qualitative variables, most of the studies that we do come under parametric. Okay. If anybody taking some study on qualitative variables like concept mapping you cannot measure directly. There is no measurement. It is based only on the understanding of children. My concept mapping will be different from each of you. So in those cases, in those qualitative research in the variables of such kind, especially outcomes of peer-mediated instruction, you divide 5 groups. The outcome of this particular group will not be equal when compared to the other group. Like remedial programs, like pronunciation correction, like occupational disorder correction, all this will be totally different based on the qualitative perspective. So in those areas, generally we go in for non-parametric. As I told you, non-parametric statistics generally is concerned with the frequencies, not of the values. So you would go for contingency measures like Mann-Whitney U and chi-square, all these Kolmogorov, all these are basically meant for non-parametric. In general, for all our common variables with regard to educational thesis, we generally go in for this parametric test, okay, to find the significant difference between the groups based on the number of groups, to find the relationship, to find the predictive analysis. Regression also does prediction. Regression, you know, the simple concept is regression. Y is equal to ax plus b. X is time. When you manipulate the time, b is constant. Okay, a is the value you get. X is time. When you say x is 1, it is x is for 1 year. You can define it is for 1 month or 1 year, but 1 year is okay. X is, when you alter that year, x is, when you put x is equal to 2, y is equal to ax plus b is the general regression equation. To simply find prediction, you are finding out a regression for two variables, how the variable, one variable impacts the other. So you are finding a impact factor, impact value. And you can say after 5 years, the personality of the individual or the occupational preference of the individual will remain same or will get changed. Simply you can find out by modifying the value of x in y is equal to ax plus b. If you modify the values with number of years, then definitely the years will. So recently, previously in 2016, our Madras University economics professor has predicted that the gold rate will go to 5,000 rupees in 2001-2002. As such, he has predicted it has gone to 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. Now I think it is around 5,500 rupees. And again, very recently when we met, he told in 2027 or 28, definitely the gold rate would somewhere be between 7,000 to 8,000. The prediction analysis is 100% true. And even in Olympiad examinations, you can see, in some of the Olympiad examinations, little children are writing, no? They will say in some of the good schools, in some of the top-end schools in Chennai, what they do, if I am the student, they will give my max marks, individual score. If I got 55 marks, they will say, individual score is 55. Classroom average, they will say, my score is 55, my classroom average is only 51. And they will go in for the CBSE based schools, no? Those, the comparison of the percentage among the schools. So my score becomes still less, 49 or 48 something. And they will go in for predictive score. And they will say, if I keep on going like this, my score will somewhere be between 42 and 45. Ultimately, the prediction will prove to be true. And even in Olympiad examinations, you can find the report card. The last page of the report card, you can find such analysis. The score of the individual, the score in the state, Telangana state, the score with regard the national score, international score. All this they will put, and where you have gone wrong, which part of the test you have gone wrong, which part you are weak, which part you are right. All this here, like a summary they will give in Olympiad. You try to get maybe even in Google Images you find a lot of Olympiad result interpretations. So kindly look in for that. So this is the basic difference between our non-parametric and parametric measure. So don't be worried about all these names. This Kolmogorov, Simronov test, Crooksell-Wallis test, Wilcoxon sign rank test, all this. As I told you morning, you simply use GraphPad, you find 90% of all the results very, very easily. Only thing is you should know what variables to be input. Okay, so that is what this. So these are some of the parametric tests that needs to be applied and non-parametric tests that are to be applied. Where it has to be applied and why. So as I told you, for non-parametric it is mostly qualitative, for parametric it is quantitative. The next one. Okay, next one. So this I have written. So please. So kindly come. So kindly go through this. This will be very elaborate actually. It will even answer your very simple questions, very critical questions also the presentation will answer. I am not going along with the presentation. So now I think I can, for the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I think I can concentrate on the properties of normal distribution. As everyone knows, we are very much used to normal distribution. for the sake of 5 marks, because it is almost a 5 mark question. State the conditions, properties of a normal curve, normally distributed curve. But a normal curve is the basis for a good research. Right from understanding the mean, right from understanding variability, the skewness, kurtosis, understanding research from the perspective of normal distribution is very important. Okay. So when I say normal distribution, as Sir wonderfully told, previously he was talking about the mean, median, mode, falls at one point. The curve is a perfectly bell-shaped curve, and the two halves are perfectly symmetric. Okay, these are the primary conditions you know. So as I told you, the skewness is 0 for a normal curve. When somebody asks you 5 points, you can easily write 5 points. Skewness is 0. So kurtosis is 0.246, the height of the curve. The picus of the curve, I told you, no. Leptocurtic is the very less level, mesocurtic the medium level, and the platycurtic is the higher level. So the normal curve will have a height of 0.263, and beyond that the region covered by the normal curve. Generally what we will do when you draw a normal curve, so when you draw a normal curve like this, we know 0, this is 1 sigma, minus 1 sigma, then 2 sigma. This is how we generally go. So at the 3 sigma level, we achieve 99%, 99.9%. So with this, it will be 60. Here it will be 33%, or to be specific, 33.13%. Okay. So 32 you take, and again here it is 13.5. So this is how you go in for categorizing the regions. So this is 1 sigma to 2 sigma. This is 2 sigma to 3 sigma level. This up to this. Minus 2 sigma to 2 sigma, and this is minus 3 sigma to plus 3 sigma level. So, and it runs till minus infinity to plus infinity without touching the x-axis. This will not touch. That property is called as asymptotic property. Okay, asymptotic property. So these are the very many applications, very many context of normal curve. So many points you can arrive by reading out certain textbooks. Even you can arrive at certain values for QD. QD you have a value for value in standard deviation with the normal curve. So ultimately, where we use the normal curve? Why do we use it? Even for sample selection or sample maybe sample validation, we go in for using normal curve. So how to fix it? We fix a sample. Samples are generally selected at random, and any sample with regard to our educational context is basically dependent on certain factors, certain defined factors such as high achievers or genius students, gifted students, average students, and generally the slow learners. And there is even if you are setting up a question paper, the same probability curve should be kept in mind. You cannot, all the questions you cannot go in for asking application level questions. Certain questions have to be at the understanding level. Certain questions have to be in the knowledge. Now all the knowledge and understanding level questions are meant for basically slow learners. The medium difficulty level questions like application and analysis and synthesis level questions are basically meant for average learners. The evaluation create questions or skill level questions are basically meant for above average students. So till those contexts, okay, till taking into consideration these different contexts of education, you apply the normal probability curve. For data collection, you go in for looking at whether your samples are scattered. There should be high achievers, there should be low achievers. If you are making a general study with a general sample, considering random sampling from all parts of from all sections of society. For example, if you are going in for collecting data from corporation school, a school which is located in urban area, rural area, all that. So this is what do we call it as discrimination index. A question paper said, maybe now the 10th standard exams are starting, and the Telangana government would have come with our Andhra government would have come with one question paper. So that question paper, they would have kept in mind large scale discrimination index. That means they will remember children are from rural area, and children from rural area and from urban area are totally different. Urban students, urban 12th standard students, for maths they will go for 3 tuitions. Differential, integral calculus, partial differential equation, they go with one professor. And vector algebra, matrices, all these areas, they will go to another professor. And geometry area, they will go with another professor. For chemistry, organic, inorganic, physical, they will. But for rural students, they don't have the provision. Okay. So this is one discrimination index. So when they finalize the question paper should satisfy this norm of the divides, different divides. There is a wider gender divide. Okay, girls and boys. Boys travel around till 10 o'clock, till 11 o'clock. Even Chennai, you can find till 12 o'clock they have classes in some coaching centers. And girls, they will be at home taking in tuitions through the videos or pre-defined videos, all that. So their exposure to environments are different. In some rural localities, you see there is no video, no tuition, no Wi-Fi, nothing. They will simply have NCERT textbooks. Here we will have VR series, exam idea, Pearson, everything we will have. So these are the discriminations that are kept in mind. When you look at the NCERT question papers, definitely you will see, when you closely observe the question paper, you see the difficulty level is totally spread in a normal curve, normal region. The difficulty levels are wonderfully balanced. But in some examinations, the difficulty levels are not that balanced. The question paper will pose major difficulty to rural students, and sometimes it will be totally easy for the urban students, those who are going for tuitions. So this is what we generally mean by discrimination index. And question papers generally while it is being constructed, this particular normal curve or normal distribution is kept in mind so that the specific regions are allocated certain difficulty, and specific regions are allocated for the easiness of the question or the average context of the difficulty. Okay, so this is what we do call as face valid questions. Again, the same validity, 5 validities we have, no? Based on the difficulty level of the questions, also we say face valid questions. Face valid questions are up to 0 to 14%. When you construct a question paper, face valid questions are primarily meant for slow learners. And content validity is there. Purely, the pure content is represented in the question paper. So validity we apply in many instances, not only in research. Validity is applied in question paper setting. Validity is applied in other areas, lot of other academic areas. So even while selecting the candidates through certain procedures, they will apply the validity. Even for certain selection process, rural students are given certain benefits. Northeastern students are given certain benefits. Even funds are allotted, when funds are allotted to central institutes like this, our institutions, there is a percentage. There is a concept called RUSA. Now it is PM USHA. Now the program is renamed as PM USHA. So well-developed states, there is a percentage, 60-40, 60% from the central government and 40% from the state government. For minimally or normally or average states still developing, the 80-20. And for union territories and northeastern states, it is 100% allocation. So all these are carried out based on the study made in order to fix them in a normal scale. Okay. So these are the many applications of the normal distribution. We should not be simply restricting our ideas only to the curve, the certain points that are given in the textbook. Where we are applying that, you should really put your heart and mind to learn that. You will understand it very effectively. So these are some of the ultimate concepts with regard to normal probability curve. Okay. So anything to be asked to me? I think I can stop now instead of making a move.
Sir, what are the difference between ANOVA and ANCOVA?
So ANOVA is basically ANOVA one-tailed and ANOVA two-tailed is there. So to make it very simple, you have 3 groups in this way. Actually, whenever you have cross tabs, it is simply be called as two-tailed. For statistical purpose, actually two-tailed definition is totally different. But for entering the total the items in your particular scale, you can say that it is two-tailed and one-tailed. Whenever you have if you are having 3 groups in this way, so you apply ANOVA. That means, for your independent variable, home adjustment total, health adjustment total, emotional total, social total, ultimately you will have adjustment total. So this gives one-tailed data for which you apply ANOVA. Again, for two variables, comparison of two variables, bivariate data, like for stress it will be like this, average, high. For adjustment it will be like this. Then both are correlating. So in that cases you go in for analysis of covariance. So that is why we say analysis of covariance. Then we have multiple analysis of covariance, purely mathematical. Here 90% of all the statistics being carried out in educational research will ultimately be ANOVA. Even now SPSS has made it very simple by applying Duncan's analysis. So that is still more very easy. But even though you do your ANOVA, you have to do a post-hoc test. ANOVA by itself is not complete. Duncan by itself is not complete actually. Again you have to do post-hoc test. So whenever t-test is complete by itself, ANOVA by itself it is not complete. It just mentions what is significant, what is not significant among the groups. And again you have to take all the significance and again you have to find the t-value for that. Then only the table becomes complete. The ANOVA calculation will become complete. So these are the basic norms with regard to the calculation of ANOVA and F or Duncan. Anything to be specifically asked? So there are many formulas that I have put in here.
Sir, if it is possible, 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
What is the difference between the kurtosis and skewness?
Okay, sir. So kurtosis.
Figuratively.
So kurtosis, as I told you, is peakedness. The definition of kurtosis is simple: peakedness of the curve. To what extent it is. So, for example, so this is mesocurtic, this is platycurtic, this is leptocurtic. Okay. So how to interpret it? You can see it is a graph. Okay. This is level of achievement. Say level of salary. Okay, here it is maybe starting from 15,000 to 50,000 to up to 2 lakhs per month. And here it is age. Okay. So age is when you start from 25, 35, 45, 55, like this. So now there is a concept of kurtosis is that at 25 age somebody will settle for this salary. So this, if you draw it in kurtosis, if it is represented in kurtosis, the thing will be, the graph will be like this. Okay. So over a period of time, for some, it will be like this. The achievement will be like this from 25 years, and they will go here. So which is a consistent, and the graph will be like this. Okay, and the duration of this is very less, and the duration of this is very long. But which is stable? So this one is stable. And somebody says, I am very good. I am very good at old age. And say, take some superstars. They will speak like philosophers. But at the very young age, what they have done almost all mistakes. At old age, by the end of their life, they say they are very pure, they are very young. So you should take all their aspirations when they are young. Okay? And how their reliability standards are. Their reliability standards are very less, basically. But at some point of time, they are extremes. And when you ultimately classify the person for his quality, the curve will be like somewhere like this, totally plateau, even less than the plateau. So to assess personality, to assess achievement, to include the factor of time, wherever you want, you can go in for the kurtosis, peakedness. So for a normal curve, the peakedness is, as I told you, 2.246. Generally, when you refer it, they'll give it as 3. Okay, the kurtosis score is 3, but it is 0.246 when you take into consideration all this the thing. So skewness is this. Skewness is lack of symmetry. So lack of symmetry. This is positive. It is not negative, and this is positive, and this is positive skewness. This two skewness. One is positive skewness, and the other one is negatively skewed curve. For example, if you are studying the achievement of students with regard to Chinmaya Vidyalaya, achievement of students in mathematics with regard to Chinmaya Vidyalaya, the curve is totally positive. In the sense, everyone's mark will begin here with 71 or 81. Okay? It is not a normal curve, it is a skewed, positively skewed curve. Or, for example, if you are studying the mathematics achievement of corporation school in some village where there is only one teacher, many teachers are not available, the curve will be totally negative. The minimum score will be somewhere 35 pass mark. From that there will be scattering of marks. So all the distributions are scattered in this way. So you call it as a negatively skewed curve. Then a normal curve will be like this, without any skewness. Without any skewness. Taking into consideration inclusion of all of the samples. So this is what skewness and kurtosis is. For drawing of kurtosis, time is one important factor, achievement is one important factor. So personality attributes you can draw, you can easily show with kurtosis. So how you are, how the personality is. So you can draw a kurtosis. And time and money, time and achievement, time and personality, and maybe the consistency of achievement over the number of years, relative achievements. Okay? Some person will be taking 100 in mathematics, but in 10th standard. But in 12th, because 10th standard mathematics is basically with knowledge, understanding, that's all. But when they come to 12th standard, their achievement will be very less. Their max scores will be for 100, it will be somewhere between 60 and 70. So it will be drastically less. So in those instances, you can use kurtosis to represent why their achievement differs over time or differs over classes. So these are the representational figures basically representing the achievement or non-achievement within some duration or personality attributes, some variables. So this is what skewness and kurtosis is. There are some simple formulas like you have for a normal probability curve. In a normal probability curve, mean deviation is 4 by 5 of standard deviation. Please take down this if you are really interested, because these are the things that you may not refer from books. Okay. So mean deviation is 4 by 5 of standard deviation, and kurtosis will be 0.263, not 0.243. It is kurtosis of a normal curve is 0.263, and skewness is 0, as I already told you, and QD will be 2 by 3 of standard deviation. Mean deviation is 4 by 5 of standard deviation in a normal curve. This is one important point. Please take this, because 4 by 5, 4 divided by 5 of standard deviation, mean deviation. Mean deviation of a normal curve is 4 divided by 5 of standard deviation. And similarly, the quartile deviation of a normal curve is 2 by 3 of standard deviation. 2 by 3 of standard deviation. When time permits, you try to go through and try to understand the basics. And it is also called as a standard unit normal curve. When mean is 0 and standard deviation is 1, it is called as standard unit normal curve. Okay.
Mean is 0?
Yeah, mean is 0 and standard deviation is 1. Okay, I leave these two papers with some, because whatever comes to my mind I have written here. I leave this to some Emmet scholar. Kindly refer, kindly take down notes of this, then you will understand what is what. So if, because I am in urgency to get to a place before 8 o'clock, then I have to leave somewhere. So my time is still 4 o'clock, I know. Then even I have a pressure of completing earlier, as Kadiravan sir is also planning to come earlier to take over my class. So I very humbly put all my respects to both the professors, especially Professor Venkatrao sir and Chandrasekhar sir. You can see persons by the, because nowadays this I just wanted to tell each one of the scholars, we are not on our own, especially in the field of education. We are not on our own. You are not as intelligent as you think, and we are not as intelligent as we think. It is all the blessings of our professors we are here. I go many places, I humbly remember, because I was talking to the professor, and both of them would have created so many of you, even so many of you working in central universities. I spoke to 2 or 3 assistant professors working in different Sanskrit universities. Then I came to know through them that they are students of our professors, and this is our culture actually. So we are not there without our professors. So my ultimate word is that how you have to be very humble to the roots. Our root is where we are, where we have started to grow. Ultimately, when you think over that, we have started to grow only with our teachers, more than our parents. We have started to really grow. We have started to really reflect on ourselves. We have started to really keep a step forward only because of our professors. So kindly keep in your heart that professors are everything for us in the field of education. Without them, we are nothing. Because with these words, I pay my humble respect to both our senior professors, and I take leave, wishing you, each and every one of you, a very great future and a very great life. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hari Namah. Sakshika Anusandhana Vidin Visayam Adhikrutya द्विसप्ताहात्मिकायाः राष्ट्रीयकार्यशालायाः अद्य सप्तमदिवसस्य तृतीयसत्रं समाप्तं। सत्रेऽस्मिन् विशेषज्ञः महोदयः डॉक्टर ए प्रभुशंकर महोदयः इन्फरेन्शियल स्टैटिस्टिक्स इति विषयम् अधिकृत्य अस्मान् बोधितवन्तः। तेभ्यः महोदयेभ्यः मत्पक्षतः, अस्माकं विभागपक्षतः, कार्यशालापक्षतः तथा विश्वविद्यालयपक्षतः हार्दान् धन्यवादान् प्रकटयामि। एवं अत्र उपस्थितेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः एवं अस्याः कार्यशालायाः निदेशकवर्येभ्यः प्रोफेसर पी वेंकटराव महोदयेभ्यः एवं संयोजकेभ्यः प्रोफेसर आर चंद्रशेखर महोदयेभ्यः हार्दान् धन्यवादान् प्रकटयामि। एवं समागत सर्वेभ्यः अध्यापकेभ्यः श्रोतछात्रेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः धन्यवादाः।
कार्यशालायाः संयोजकान् निर्देशकान् प्रार्थयामि यत् महोदयं ताङ्कौ प्रदानेन फलपुष्पप्रदानेन सम्माननं कुर्वन्तु इति।
Our students wants to take photo electronically.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Okay.